The manhunt in Texas is over. The suspect accused of killing 5 of his neighbors is in custody. He was arrested yesterday after a 4-day search. Authorities say he was found in a house just miles from the home in Cleveland, Texas, where the shooting took place. The Mexican national was caught hiding in a closet underneath some laundry. The home he was in was linked to one of his family members. Investigators are now looking into if anyone helped him evade arrest. The FBI was led to the location from a tip through their tip line, and officials say the person that called in will be getting the $80,000 reward. Here's what the local sheriff had to say about the arrest.
The suspect is in custody. I have just left Montgomery County Jail where he was taken, and he has been magistrated. He now will be taken to my jail and where his new residence will be.
The suspect is set to appear in court today. He's an illegal immigrant and has reportedly been deported at least 4 times in the past. The Mexican consulate will be formally notified of his circumstances.
The Biden administration is preparing for the end of Title 42, the COVID-era policy that allows U.S. border agents to quickly expel illegal immigrants is set to end next week. Officials are expecting an influx of people trying to cross illegally. The U.S. military is sending 1,500 active-duty troops to the southern border to help. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the move announced yesterday.
On the U.S. southwest border.
Pentagon Press Secretary General Pat Ryder said Tuesday that the 1,500 troops will supplement Border Patrol for 90 days. He says they will help with warehouse support, data entry, and ground-based detection and monitoring until Customs and Border Patrol can contract support.
Military personnel will not directly participate in law enforcement activities.
Border agents with limited resources have been struggling to keep up with an unprecedented influx of illegal immigrants over the last 2 years. There have been around 7,000 daily encounters on the southern border in recent days. That number is expected to rise in the coming weeks, with Title 42 scheduled to end next week Thursday. Ryder suggests the deployment could be extended if the need arises.
And while this request is for 90 days, I would point out that DoD has supported DHS on the southwest border for 18 of the last 22 years. And every year since 2006.
Many Democrats criticized former President Trump for deploying troops to the border in 2018, calling the move a politicization of the military. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre downplayed any similarity, saying such deployment is common practice.
DoD personnel have been supporting CBP at the border for almost 2 decades now.
Jean-Pierre says it will free up Border Patrol to perform their duties in the field.
I will also add that this would not be necessary if Congress would act.
The Biden administration wants to create more legal pathways to citizenship to mitigate the dangerous and often deadly journey many migrants take. Some members of Biden's party object to the decision to send the troops. Democratic Senator Bob Menendez says it's unacceptable and being done to score political points. A record number of migrants have been caught illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border since Biden took office in 2021. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Mexico's president says he supports the decision by the U.S. to add troops and that Mexico will continue to accept migrants from Venezuela, Haiti, Cuba, and Nicaragua that are turned away at the U.S. border. And it seems just yesterday, IBM announced it's replacing almost 8,000 jobs with AI. And people are concerned that their jobs are at stake. Fields traditionally considered secure may not be anymore. We take a look at 2 of them, finance and law. NTD's Faye Quarter talks with professionals in those fields.
Artificial intelligence is transforming the world. Fields traditionally considered stable and secure may no longer be. 2 of these fields are law and finance.
This is an area that is likely going to be devastated. When you start thinking about, we've heard statistics of, 2/3 of all jobs could actually, go to AI. I would disagree. I would say it's probably higher in terms of financial services and fintech.
Don Kaufman is the founder of TheoTrade, a financial education firm. He's been in finance for 25 years. Kaufman believes only the upper echelons of finance will keep their roles, and everyone else may be replaced with AI. He says we won't really need people for things like writing research reports or analyzing data.
When AI is possibly going to do it with a little bit less bias, okay, and more justification behind it. I mean, it is downright, again, phenomenal when you can have a piece of technology read, if you will, 30,000 papers and instantaneously, okay, disseminate that information into forward outlook.
For anyone seeking a career in finance, Kaufman advises having strong critical reasoning skills. And he says studying math can help develop these skills. Meanwhile, it's a very different story in the legal field.
I don't really believe that AI will ever replace a human attorney for one very, very simple reason. And that reason is connection.
Christopher Warren is the managing partner at Warren Law Group. He says attorneys need to connect a certain perspective to judges, juries, adversaries, and even their own clients. He believes this is something AI can't replicate. Aside from believing the legal profession will continue to exist, Warren says there will be two types of lawyers in the future.
There's going to be lawyers that can effectively adapt and utilize AI to represent their clients more effectively, and there's going to be unemployed attorneys. I don't see a future for attorneys in the law profession that don't utilize this technology.
And experts agree. Instead of doing business as usual, people should adapt and use AI.
Ignoring AI is not going to do anybody any favors. And people who are most at risk when people are talking about fear of losing their jobs or fear of being replaced by AI, an individual is not going to be replaced by AI. Many individuals will be replaced by one individual who really adapted to AI.
Mark Seal is the CEO of AI firm Sortium. He says a key to adapting is having strong communication skills. That way, you can enter your prompt into the software and effectively get the answers you need. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
Caught on camera, a Virginia officer narrowly avoided being hit head-on by a teen driver allegedly going 120 miles per hour. Fairfax County Police released this video Tuesday of a crash that sent two people to the hospital. Police say a patrol officer was approaching a car during a traffic stop Monday when another car crossed over the median and smashed into the same car. The speeding vehicle spun out of control and swerved into the opposite lane, nearly hitting the officer who just barely jumped out of the way. The officer sustained minor injuries, but went to check if both drivers were okay. Police say a 17-year-old speeding in a BMW caused the crash. The teen driver, two passengers, and the driver of the other vehicle all suffered minor injuries. The teen is facing charges for reckless driving.
Welcome back. After a couple bought a foreclosed property sight unseen, they had an eye-opening moment, but what they have done with it will make you want to look twice. Let's take a look.
This beautiful 19th century farmhouse is located in Pennsylvania, but just a couple years ago it was unrecognizable. New Jersey natives DeWitt Paul and his wife Jean Paul had lived all over the world before putting an offer on the property in 2018, sight unseen. It was followed by an eye-opening moment.
They were just disgusting. So we ended up cleaning up and moving in a few days after we purchased the house. We moved into the big house and basically camped there as we were starting to fix it up.
And that meant hard work. In total, the property has 2 houses, 3 barns, and 2 big garages. After making the main houses habitable, they moved on to the farmhouse. Jean says that the previous owner had a lot of cats and basically used the house as a litter box, which left behind a horrendous smell. Nevertheless, they saw the potential.
We wanted to really incorporate as much of the history of the house and the area into it as possible, so everything became very bespoke. Everything we chose to do was very custom.
In the process, they tried to give the house its character back, which was stripped from it over the years. They did it by reusing materials they had taken from their old house they moved away from.
And so when we took the walls apart, we had these really pretty, what is it, probably
2 inch
probably chestnut wood that you can't even get anymore.
They made them into desks and countertops and shelves all around the house.
We're such a throw things away mentality. Being able to use as much as we could to put back into the house was a good idea, but the fact that it was much nicer than what you could buy as well was a real bonus.
It was not just the charming interior. With that property, they fulfill their dream of having a home that is a gathering point for the entire family. DeWitt says the 31-acre property and 3 miles of trails are perfect for their 8 grandkids.
They don't have the opportunity to go outdoors and to play and to do those kinds of things.
To just explore out in the wild. I mean, our little grandson who's 7, he just wants to, he's going to be here for his birthday this year. And I asked him what he wanted to do for his birthday. And he said, I just want to go in the woods.
In the process, the couple experienced many challenges and triumphs. DeWitt shared some words of advice and caution that something like this always comes with surprises and will almost always cost more than anticipated.
And so it's a great opportunity, instead of sit and watch TV or do nothing, you actually build something. And it's a tremendous amount of satisfaction.
He says it lets you use the time that you might have done nothing with otherwise.
The Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing yesterday on the ethics of the Supreme Court. Senate Democrats are pushing for stronger ethics rules for the High Court after a recent report about Justice Clarence Thomas. Here are those details.
Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee are leading an effort to introduce stronger and more formal ethics rules for the Supreme Court. In a hearing on Tuesday, Committee Chairman Dick Durbin raised concerns over Justice Clarence Thomas's conduct. A recent report says that Thomas failed to disclose luxury trips he accepted from billionaire friend Harlan Crow, who was also a GOP megadonor.
This is untenable. Ethics cannot simply be left to the discretion of the nation's highest court. The court should have a code of conduct with clear and enforceable rules, so both justices and the American people know when conduct crosses the line.
Republican senators mostly came to Thomas's defense and dismissed the hearing as a partisan spectacle.
This assault on Justice Thomas is well beyond ethics. It is about trying to delegitimize a conservative court that was appointed through the traditional process.
None of the 9 justices were at the hearing. Chief Justice John Roberts turned down an invitation from Durbin to testify. Instead, the committee heard from 5 witnesses, including constitutional law experts and former judges.
It's basic to the structure of our government that the executive, legislative, and judicial branches remain separate. It is the Supreme Court and not the Congress that has the constitutional prerogative to decide whether to adopt a formal code of conduct governing the individual justices.
Witnesses invited by Republicans and those invited by Democrats disagreed on whether Congress has the power to step in.
So whenever we have a constitutional question, we look to 3 sources typically: the text of the Constitution, its structure, and long-standing historical practice. And all 3 confirm that Congress has the constitutional authority to enact legislation regulating judicial ethics.
Democrats in both chambers are pursuing new bills that would create a process for investigating misconduct at the Supreme Court. The bills would also strengthen recusal standards and disclosure of travel and hospitality for the justices.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are stepping up the pressure on a Chinese fast fashion giant. They're asking a federal agency to take action over concerns of forced labor. Here's a story.
A bipartisan group of 22 House members asked the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, to take action on Chinese fashion giant SHEIN in a letter on Monday. The lawmakers want the SEC to halt the initial public offering for SHEIN until the commission verifies the company doesn't use forced labor. The lawmakers also want the SEC to require SHEIN certify that its products do not use Uyghur forced labor. Uyghurs are a persecuted ethnic minority in China's Xinjiang region. A 2022 Bloomberg report found SHEIN's garments contained cotton from the area. Democratic House member Jennifer Wexton and Republican John Rose led the effort. They said in the letter there are credible allegations of the company's use of underpaid and forced labor. They went on to say that they strongly believe the ability to issue and trade securities on domestic exchanges is a privilege, and that foreign companies wishing to do so must uphold a commitment to human rights across the globe. A spokesperson for SHEIN denied the allegations, saying the company has zero tolerance for forced labor. The U.S. has banned all imports from the Xinjiang region over concerns of forced labor use. Sources say SHEIN is eyeing an IPO in the U.S. this year.